let's talk about personal brand, because you mentioned you did a conference in front of 20 men and you were talking about personal brand and imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is one thing, but personal brand's another.
They didn't recognise that one, funny enough.
What advice would you give to people that want to look at their personal brand or invest in their personal brand to help them be more successful at work or even get more opportunities?
I think you can't just magic up. You can't just go, right, I'm going to address my personal brand, and you turn up, you've gone from someone who was a shirt and jeans to a suit person. Not that we really do suits anymore, but on the Monday. I think it's about looking at your behaviours, and I have this conversation a lot around people that come to my talks and our conferences. You can be a leader long before you run a team, right? It's about the behaviours you exhibit. So if you think about your day-to-day dealings within your organisation and how you would normally react to a situation, how you would come across if something like, I think it's being more a strategic thinker rather than kind of taking things personally. I think it depends what level you're at. So if you think about perhaps, how you behave in certain situations so that you're starting to show that leadership capability. When you make decisions, you take yourself out of the equation. Like I think of how many jobs I did where I was putting in systems where I knew my job wasn't at the end of that, because the system that I was putting in was replacing me. So I've thought about, oh, absolutely, but then in tech, that's what you do, right? But it's about the relationships that you build along the way. So from my personal brand perspective, I always knew that I had to build relationships with other people because I needed somewhere to go when that system was implemented. The same thing goes with bosses that I had, most of the big bosses was that had a 2 to 3 year tenure before they got their head cut off, right? And again, being a number 2 to that boss, either in a chief of staff perspective or, head of business management, generally the knives would come out for me too. Because I'd made people do work that they didn't want to do under his direction. But it's about the network that you've built, and again the way that, in terms of your own personal brand, mine was I won't say the word, but I got stuff done. If you gave me something to do, I would get it done. I built good relationships, so I had a network of people that would, because I'd help them out, would come to help me out too. So it was these different brand components. So I think people basically need to think about, who am I as a person? Who am I at work? What do I aspire to be? What does the characteristics of a leader look like up there? And don't necessarily look at the leader that's in that post. I'll never forget once I was offered a job to go and do some support on a trading floor. And the person that was in it was an internal role, and I had a conversation with someone, and I thought, on a trading floor, I think I'd thrive in that environment because the way that I am. But I looked at the person that was currently in the role, and they were very cutthroat and stuff like that, and I wasn't quite sure that I could be like that, or that people would see through it, because I think you can get stuff done without, I say, chopping people's heads off and stuff. Yeah. So I turned that role down. Now what I should have done is gone and took that role and added my own personal flavour to it and changed it so that the people coming behind me would go, I can do that role. Do you see what I mean? So I think it's looking at the characteristics of the person you are, who you aspire to be, take the best of what you've been from a leadership perspective, of the leaders that you've worked under, take the best bits of them, mix it up and come up with your own model. But brand is what people see, what people hear, and nowadays it's what people read. So we have to get those 3 things right.
So what about you talked about getting shit done,
yeah.
I would say, and having that personal brand, but that's for people that sort of know you and work with you. What about personal brand online, like a perception of what you do? Because there's people that know you, Vanessa gets shit done.
Yep.
But they'll look online and if I researched you and I looked at it, I thought, wow, I'd love to get this.
She gets shit done. That's exactly what you thought, right?
But I thought...
I think it's getting comfortable. LinkedIn, right, is our friend. It's changed LinkedIn, I've noticed, over the last, I think since lockdown. I've seen a big change. People are a lot more sharing their personal kind of lives and stuff like that. And let's face it, personal life is your work sometimes. So I've seen a bit of a shift. Is that your personal brand, though? Yeah. I think what you need to do is tell your story, and you need to do it on a platform that everyone has access to, and that tends to be LinkedIn, right? So what I find is sometimes I look at someone's LinkedIn, and it's like an empty shop window. I want to see the cakes, I want to see the cherries, and I want to dive into that shop and go, what can I buy here? But I look at people's LinkedIn and their talk, about their company. We are 60,000 people, we're in this amount of countries. It's nothing about them. What I want to know, and again, I want to know what you do, but I also want to know the cause and effect of what you do. So I want to know what impact you have. So I always kind of explain it to my ladies and some of the people I do my talks to. If you describe yourself, I'm a retail manager, I'm a project manager at a retail bank, right? The retail bank has XXX whatever. How about if I give that a little bit of context? I'm a project manager of a portfolio of £400 million worth of change across 6 different countries involving 900 resources. All of a sudden, your job has gone from this size, I'm making a small size here, to that size because I see the context of what you do. You're not just a project manager, that's actually a program manager, a program director kind of stuff. You've got this huge portfolio, you're dealing with different countries, different cultures, and you're getting your stuff done. So sometimes people massively underplay themselves.
Do you think people have to sort of fake it till you make it sort of scenario? They have to sort of, there's people sort of, they'll hear that story.
There's 2 schools of thought but you're telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
We're not telling people to lie. I'm telling you, just almost take yourself out of the room and look inwards at your job. Right, and write it to the point where you feel uncomfortable about it. It's braggy, it's boasty. Take it back about 20%, and you're probably about right. Right. Because again, I think back to the days when I would hire from the big consultancies, and I'd get people's CVs in. We were paying these people like £2,000 a day, and I'd get like a kind of a CV that told me really nothing in that opening summary, like summary, where I was like, oh, I need to meet this person. That's the one. And again, I think people can do that on LinkedIn. It's the same sort of thing, Again, I look at people's summaries now and I'd be like, I'd hire them because I see something in what they've written. They're obviously passionate about what they do or stuff like that. So I think it's really important. Tell your story, and no one tells your story like you do.
No, absolutely. You obviously were inspired to do women's rights campaigns, etc. And you obviously, hopefully, you've changed the legislation. We'll find out Wednesday.
That's not me.
We'll find out.
That's not me. That's the Investo girls and all the other coalition. What I do in terms of campaigns is I lend my hand to campaigns. So I've got a very big network. I've obviously got a very big voice through WeAreTheCity and our various channels and socials. So where we are really good is a campaign will come along. And we're like, right, we can lend our voice. We can give our resources to that platform or that campaign or whatever it was. So there's been a multitude of them that we've done over the years where we're just there in the background. You let the people lead it who are SMEs on this stuff. So yeah, I will take no credit for that on Wednesday whatsoever.
Is there any particular other women's rights campaign that you respect, you think, wow, I admire that person?
Oh my God, there's so many because, there's a lady called Jolie, Pregnant and Screwed. Yes, that is the name of the organisation. She is on the government's case on a daily basis about childcare reforms. I can't think what it is, the numbers escapes me at the minute, but the billions we would add to the economy if the government just sorted out childcare and sorted it out properly. Not, have some more childcare places, and actually that industry isn't ready to deliver that for people, so people are still waiting, So childcare reforms, 100% it will be Jolie from Pregnant and Screwed. You've got other people like Gina Martin that changed the laws on upskirting. There are so many female campaigners. You've got the Women's Equality Party, not an actual politician, we've got no MPs or anything like that, but they're the ones that are niggling the government, like they've got their knuckle in the rib cage going, what about this, what about that, so they're the people that I massively kind of admire, that will stick their head above the parapet. There was a wonderful lady, she was one of my winners last year that was part of the campaign that made sure that we have period products in schools now for young girls to address period poverty. Those people that come across things that are not right in society and say, I'm going to stick my head above the parapet to make the change. They're not be prepared to leave something as they found it. So there are so many women that are doing that for all sorts of things, but isn't it a shame that we have to do all that work?
So Vanessa, my last question, and I don't want you to sit on the fence with it, I want you to give your honest opinion and the company that you think might be the one to watch. So it doesn't have to be specifically in the IT channel, but a company that you think, or a female founder, you think is going to do good things in 2024. Who would it be?
I'd have to probably refer to some of the ones on my 520 listing. There was a wonderful lady called Victoria Jenkins. She went into the Dragon's Den. She didn't get the money.
Oh, wow.
She's founder of a clothing range called Unhidden, which was particularly developed for persons with disabilities. So it's shirts, for example, with buttons down the outer side of the arm so they can be popped for pick lines and stuff like that. So highly fashionable wear. So, you know, it's not something that whereby you would stick out because you've got this bit of clothing. It's actually a stylish skirt or a stylish top. She was in Vogue Top 25, kind of female entrepreneurs. Company name is called Unhidden. And Victoria Jenkins, she is definitely one to watch, 100%.
Brilliant. Vanessa, you've been a great guest. Thanks for your time.
That's all right.